What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Breaking Bet here on September 11th, 2024. Before we start the show, we want to remember everybody on September 11th, and thank you for all the first responders. It's a heavy day in our nation's heart, and we're over here at Breaking Bet family thinking about you.
Yes, sir.
We had an interesting week one here, guys. I think week one, it was great to have football back. Certainly. I know I was, getting a little slammed at the bar, especially with my Circus Survivor picks and everything in the balance here. But, I felt like there was just so much sloppy play, Eric. And I guess it's to be expected now with people not playing in the preseason. Week one is basically the new preseason now, except it actually counts. And obviously that could cause teams to just completely fall flat on their face. But before we get into week two, what did you see in week one? Give me like one or two of your biggest takeaways.
Yeah, so I think you made a great point, Johnny, and I talked about this earlier this week on Forward Progress a little bit. Some of the biggest the issues that are derailing these offenses right now, like there's not just one reason why. Like their overall quarterback play in this first week and just offensive momentum and just putting together sustainable good drives was just not happening. And it could be because of the offensive line. We've already seen some injuries and just some weaker units, general quarterback play, general rust from people not playing in a preseason. So I just think that, listen, week two is going to be all about overreacting from the week one. Like this reminds me, like the first couple of weeks of football remind me of like an MLB series. Like week one, I mean, the first game of an MLB series, when you're betting on that game, on that series, like you basically stick to your numbers and you ride that. Game two of that series, obviously the book's going to adjust one way to whoever happened in game one. And sometimes it's way too much and you could find value on that. And then week three in that final game of that series, like, then it's kind of just like pretty efficiently priced and you just go with, with your gut there. Like now these numbers are like definitely going to be inflated. So there's a lot we got to talk about, Johnny, because I think there's some good bets to make this week.
I do as well. And let's get right into it. Week two, there are a lot of interesting games on the card this week. And we're going to start off with a little Thursday night football down in South Florida. A game that should be a Sunday 1 o'clock, but we're going to ruin it and throw it on the Thursday night slate. It's the Miami Dolphins hosting the Buffalo Bills at just under a field goal. Now, Eric, with this game, I feel like we have to detail the injuries that are going on. The Dolphins are without Raheem Mostert. He's out with a chest injury. Devon Achane, he is a game-time decision. He was practicing today, so there's positive signs that it's trending towards he might go. If you're the Buffalo Bills, Taron Johnson, their corner's out, which is big news considering their DB room was already limited coming into this year with the losses of Tre'Davious White and Jordan Poyer. Where do you look at the edge here in this matchup? Is it Miami at home, or do you think Buffalo and Josh Allen's going to get it done on the road?
No, I lean my Buffalo. I like Buffalo in teasers at 8.5, and I like Buffalo on a money line sprinkle. Johnny, just I'm serious. I'm so Mostert's out. I'm thinking Achane's looking like he's probably going to play. I'm just not impressed enough with what Miami did on defense, and I don't think that Buffalo's secondary is going to be as bad as it's currently perceived to be. I think Buffalo's spread offense is going to be able to move the football over Miami. So what are you thinking, Johnny? Because I think the Bills are going to move the football, and the Dolphins are going to do it as well. But I think you have the better quarterback at the end of the day. Like in a shootout style game, like give me the better quarterback.
I want to agree with you. I really do. But at the end of the day, I do think that Miami is going to have an edge only because they're going to be able to take advantage more of the mismatches. Let's be honest here. Jacksonville's offense did move the ball when it wanted to, but still, for an offense that's pretty solid in the Jaguars, they didn't run all over the Dolphins. And I think when you're looking at Buffalo now, who doesn't have as many weapons. I don't know if Josh Allen's going to be able to do it. I mean, you saw them move the ball against Arizona, and quite frankly, they should have lost to Arizona. But Kyler Murray, because he's so short, if he sees Marvin Harrison, who there is nobody near him, the camera replay couldn't find anybody within 20 yards of him. If he just looks up and lofts one to him, the Cardinals probably win that game. And I understand what you're saying. I think Buffalo's going to score. I think Buffalo, I could see them scoring 21-24. But Miami, I just think, has too many options to go to. Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, how are they going to cover both of them? I don't see it.
I mean, from obviously a purely like name perspective, they don't have anybody who's going to, if you're going to say their name, you're going to be like, okay, this person has a chance. And I mean, yeah, they made the conscious decisions to get rid of some of these guys in their secondary for financial reasons, and also like the fact that secondary play is very volatile from year to year. So they are well aware of Tyreek Hill. Obviously, the entire league knows that he's the scariest player in football, that you have to prepare for him specifically. But the Bills have so much experience doing that, with obviously playing him now twice a year, and also in those big games in the playoffs against the Chiefs and throughout the regular seasons against the Chiefs. Like, they have always played him relatively well. And I know that Buffalo, like, talent-wise doesn't look good, but like they still have the same coaches there. Like, they I think they could put up a good enough scheme. And like you said, like, the Jacksonville Jaguars did a not that great a job. I mean, the Dolphins finished 12th in EPA per play on defense, and like, yeah, it is a good offense. So you'd feel comfortable about it, but you also had a couple of missed drops by Christian Kirk on like third downs. He was rough. He didn't play in the preseason. You have Brian Thomas, who's your top, who looks like a stud, but he is a rookie. Like, Gabe Davis, like, we know what he did in Buffalo. Like, yeah, he's a vertical threat, but like, he is obviously boomer strict bust. So like, I don't think they really truly shut down like this elite offense. I think the Josh Allen spread, where he can really just run and throw to his guys, like, I think that's an entirely different animal to face.
I think the same could be said for Miami, though. Tua did not look good. He had Tyreek Hill wide open for a monster touchdown.
Yeah,
he missed several throws throughout the day. And I think, like, everybody, for the most part, was rusty week one. No doubt about it. And really, when we're looking at it, I could see this game going both ways. That's why it's under a field goal. We got our boy Spence here, Bills +3. And I don't know if you're talking about buying half a point. I haven't seen 3 anywhere, so I apologize if I'm wrong. But ultimately, I think for me, I would side with Miami. I'm not betting this game officially from a side standpoint or a money line standpoint. I am, however, involved in a couple touchdown props that we'll get to later in the show. But Eric, are you would you touch a total in this game, or you would just go with Buffalo on the spread and money line?
Buffalo spread and money line, interesting, because this opened 50, 51.5, and now is down to 48.5, 49, and of course there's a whole day for limits to raise and buyback, etc. But no, I think we do see points. I think obviously 48 is a big key number there. So I think if you get it 48.5, considering there are some 49s, like I would lean toward the over. But I do have, again, some prop thoughts for touchdowns too, if you want to wait till do that later in the show. Yeah,
let's tease everybody. You want the information, you got to wait a little bit. Okay, so 1 o'clock Sunday, interesting showdown. 2 teams that put a hurting on their opponents in week 1. The New Orleans Saints and the Dallas Cowboys. Big D, the Cowboys just under 7-point favorite at home against New Orleans, who put up a 40 bean against Carolina. Before we start here, I am of the belief that both of these teams overachieved in week 1. I will say I had Cleveland on the money line. That was an official play in week 1. And Dallas, much to their credit, they really, really impressed me in that win. A lot of it has to do with Deshaun Watson. Like, it's not that he's not adding any value. He's taking away value. He's putting his defense in just unimaginable positions. But the Cleveland defense was having a hard time with Dallas's offense as well. I think New Orleans, it's appealing. I don't love Dallas, but I think in this spot here, Eric, if I was inclined to take a play, and I'm not 100% sure on that yet, I would probably lay the points with the Cowboys, because I just don't think the Saints have enough weapons to deal with this. You have Olave and Alvin Kamara, and you have a couple of ancillary guys. Like, Shaheed and Juwan Johnson. I think Dallas is going to be able to move the ball at will. This is not the same Saints defense we knew. And I think the book is not going to be overreactive of the fact that they just put up 40 points on Carolina.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said, but I think I'm just taking what we're agreeing on and just going in a completely different route. I'm just looking at the over for this one. I think both teams will successfully move the ball. Let's get the live exacts so we could see what it's sitting at. It opened at 44, it got back up to 46.5. So I missed out by not betting early. But I still think that at 46.5 or 46, if you find, is a good bet for the over. The Cowboys, they're going to be able to move the football in the Saints, like you mentioned. I 100% agree. But where I'm more interested is the Saints offense. Like, yes, they absolutely destroyed the Panthers, but like the Cowboys are not the Panthers. But I am very impressed with Clint Kubiak's offensive scheme in week 1. He was moving using pre-snap motion. The Saints offense looked imaginative. He's come from the tree of the Shanahan where they're able to mask these bad offensive lines, which is the biggest knack on the Saints. And then you have Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, whatever you want to think about from Taysom Hill, of course, and Derek Carr when he's just making quick decisions is fine. So I like the over. I think both teams run up and down the field.
I think that's a pretty solid look. You might have convinced me. And for anybody thinking about it, I feel like CeeDee Lamb -110 is a pretty solid bet to get in the end zone. You probably will see some Marshawn Lattimore, but I think we're at a point here where the Lamb Prescott connection is just almost matchup proof. It's just because you're going to have to contest Lamb getting 15 targets. And you're going to tell me one of those isn't going to go for a score. Possible, but -110, I think the new reality, and I hate this, and this shouldn't even be allowed, is the fact that these touchdown markets, most of them are terrible. You're getting a couple good numbers, but Lamb -110, and he hasn't even scored yet. I think this is too much of a recurring theme this early in the season for these bad numbers, but I do think Lamb ultimately will get in the end zone in this game. Debating if I'm going to make that an official play.
Yeah, I think I like offense. If you're crafting an SGP and you obviously love taking overs and touchdowns, this would be a game I would target. I would look for Shaheed, another deep ball connection. I would look at CeeDee Lamb because, like you said, how can you not? I would look at Alvin Kamara as well because, again, I think that they're using him and it's just the way he's meant to be used and obviously has been used in the past, but not in the recent past. And I think these guys are moving the football. I think Dak has a good day. I think Derek Carr continues to look good. And I would consider the Saints, but it's like I don't want any part of this spread wise because I think, like you said, both teams truly overachieved. But I do like the over, not because of the fact that they both scored good outputs, just because of the fact that I think both their defenses are overrated, and that's what's making me toward this over. And I think it's a little low still.
I like the look. Let's move on to probably one of the best games of the week. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers 7-point dogs in Detroit with one of the highest totals of the week at 51.5. I'm going to start here. We were talking about this off air.
Mm-hmm.
This is the playoff game last year where Tampa Bay was about a 6.5 point dog, if I'm not mistaken, during the divisional round. And I'm like, I just feel like Detroit's a little overrated. I don't know if this is their year. I think Tampa's being very disrespected in the market, and we're in the same spot as we were, back in January. Tampa Bay about a 7-point underdog like they were before. Well, they are a 7-point underdog right now, but I think here, Eric, Tampa Bay is a team I do expect to move the ball.
Mm-hmm.
If Baker Mayfield can stay clean and he can make good decisions, I think they're going to be able to find a way to score at least 23, 24 points. Now, the defense didn't really get tested all that much against Jaden Daniels and Washington's offense. I think I want to preliminarily go with Detroit here at -7 because I always seem to bet against Detroit, or at least I did last year. And at home, they're just an ATS wagon, dude. They win at home and they cover. And Carlton Davis, revenge game. He's on the lines, was the corner for the Bucks last year. The Detroit team just looked sloppy against the Rams. They found a way to win. Yeah, they got a little bit lucky, but they found a way to win. I like the Lions here at -7.
I like the Lions too. Lions are like a huge teaser look for me this week. Pair them with Buffalo. There's other games we'll talk about, but I wouldn't mind if you're going for a 6-point teaser. You're going like a four teamer. I would definitely be targeting the Lions. Like you said, I think the Buccaneers can score 24. I think they can even score 27, but I think the Lions can score 31 or 37 on them. Like realistically, this Buccaneers team, their secondary was already bad, and then they lost a couple. They lost like 3 defensive backs in the game against Washington. And even if 2 of them are out, you're still talking about like CB like 4 and 5 trying to be CBs 2 and 3, or in like safety 3 trying to be safety 2. Like they're in shambles in terms of their secondary. So the Lions should certainly have success moving the ball. And like you said, the Bucs will have success too. The Lions defense is not a defensive world beaters, but they have a much better defensive line than the Washington Commanders can even dream of having. And they're going to get into Baker's face. They're going to pressure him, and they're going to not allow him to do those escaping running plays that the Washington defensive line allowed. And it's just a much better football team. So we're going, again, literally just better roster, home environment, arguably better coacher, and just simply put, better team. Like to lay 7, of course, it's tough. But like you said, quoting that line from the playoff game, like I think the Buccaneers were a little bit worse than they ended last year. And I think the Lions are a little bit better. And that line was 6, and now we're getting 7. So it's also 7.5 now. It's actually just moved recently. It's across the board.
On DraftKings.
It's across the board, yeah. Like every even like the sharp shop. So yeah, I like this at 6. At 7.5 is obviously a different animal with the key number. But yeah, teaser Lions, like Survivor Lions, like I'm in.
I'm glad this is done live, like as we're talking about it. What would you take the Lions straight out to on the spread? What is the most you're willing to do and lay?
6.5. So we got to hold this back, or it's teaser or in a money line parlay or bust for me. I'm playing the Lions.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big number. Also, one thing to note, I like Amon-Ra here. I think this is a big Amon-Ra game. He really didn't get many targets, which is disgusting in week 1. This is a guy that went absolutely nuclear in Tampa last year in the regular season matchup. He had, I think, 12 catches for about $130 and at least 1 score. I like Amon-Ra to go nuts here. This is one of those games where I think he's going to, reassert himself as an alpha wide receiver 1. I think now we're in an interesting position here. That 7.5 is that's a real tough one to talk about. I was taking Detroit at 7.5. I'm not in a rush to bet this game. I want to see where the line goes for the rest of the week.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cleveland got embarrassed at home on Sunday. Now Jacksonville, who barely lost, is the home team. They're laying 3.5 with a low total of 41.5. Eric, I like Jacksonville all the way. I think it didn't work last week, right? It didn't work last week in the same kind of spot where Miami was a home 3.5 against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Miami ended up winning by 3, but I think people just get so scared of a 3.5 of laying a 3.5 because of the hook, and they want to take the 3.5. They want that extra hook because they think it's so valuable, and sometimes it is. But outside of that game, I think there was 4 other teams laying 3.5, and I think they all covered. Mm-hmm. I like laying 3 and a hook. I've learned to love it because I feel like it's such a tease, and it's such a trap for people that are, in this case, right, looking to take Cleveland plus 3.5. It's like, ooh, we're getting the hook. This could be a field goal game. Deshaun Watson bounce back. The defense is good. They got embarrassed. They're going to play better. I don't think so. I mean, I think some of that stuff could be true, but Jacksonville has a lot of stuff to clean up as well. I think Jacksonville is going to end up winning this game by about 6 points. So laying the 3.5 for me is fair, and that's something that I try to routinely do. I assess on an individual game-by-game basis when we get this line, Eric, but as a whole, my mind automatically points to, yeah, I like this team laying 3.5. I don't always take it, but I start off with that and then work to see if my handicap matches up with my kind of premonition of taking laying a 3.5.
Yeah, I love the points you made about, like, yeah, if you make the game 5.5 and the spread is 3.5, you take the 3.5. Like, obviously, you're not going to be finding that many gigantic differences in the NFL if you even find one over the course of the season. But yes, like, I think that's an important thing to note. But I will just disagree with you all the way to the window. I have Cleveland Browns plus 3.5. I bet it already. It is one of only two things I bet so far. Obviously, it's Wednesday. We have some time, but here's why I'm in on Cleveland. First of all, even after admittedly being higher on Cleveland than market with my priors and about honestly pretty accurate with Jacksonville on my priors, I downgraded Cleveland a decent amount from this first game for obvious reasons, but I didn't really I actually downgraded Jacksonville slightly also. Deshaun Watson was obviously horrible, but it was always a tough matchup for him. Like, the Browns are missing their starting tackles. He was on like a third string, I think, a little right or left tackle at one point. He was obviously going to be rusty as hell. He didn't play any preseason. And at the end of the day, like, can he just absolutely be ruined and like be terrible and the Browns stink forever? Possibly, but this Jaguars offense going against this Browns defense that I think was just put into bad situations by Watson and the offense, I think that they'll be able to do enough to really keep this game close and if not win it outright. Like, I still have the Browns as the better football team. So yes, if Watson's ruined and horrible, it's over. But like, in my ratings, I'm getting the better football team, getting 3.5 points. So I took it.
Part of the cap for me, David Njoku's not going to play. Jedrick Wills, I don't think he's going to play.
I think
that's a key offensive lineman.
I think Willis is supposed to play. I'm under the impression Willis is going to play.
Jedrick Wills, I thought he was on the wrong side of questionable. He did not practice today.
I think I would be shocked. Obviously, again, I could definitely be wrong, but I'd hope he plays for this wager, and I think he should play for this wager. Like, I took the wager in anticipation of him playing, I should say.
He missed last week. It said head coach Kevin Stefanski told reporters Wills would participate before practice. It's unclear if Wills aggravated his knee issue or Stefanski simply misspoke. Either way, Wills' odds of shooting up in week 2 aren't looking high. So you have him potentially missing. David Njoku is not going to play. You have injuries across this offensive line already. And you have a quarterback that's not a difference maker. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but let's give it up for this Jacksonville defense. I mean, they have some playmakers. Their front seven is pretty good. The secondary isn't great, but if Deshaun Watson can't get out and make plays, I don't really know why I would take Cleveland right now. And listen, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm just too low on the Browns at the moment, but I need to see it from them before I say, hey, I'm going to get back in bed with them. I don't think Cleveland, the quarterback, but bro, the quarterback situation is so horrific. It's not to the point where Watson doesn't add value. He takes value away. They are better off giving Jameis Winston a shot. It's a shame that they paid him all this money because honestly, they'd be better off with Joe Flacco. And I'm serious. Like, Joe Flacco is a guy that can win 10, 11 games on this team. He could. And Deshaun Watson is a guy that I don't know if Cleveland is even going to want to consider letting him start the rest of the season if it gets bad enough. I mean, they're in a position where financially their hands are tied. But I don't know. I can't buy Deshaun Watson yet. I don't know what happened to the guy from 2020 that was a top 3 quarterback. This whole scandal, who, by the way, he just got sued again, has completely ruined him mentally, that it's translated physically. But this guy is just – he's a shell of himself. It's insane. He was beloved. He was a top quarterback 4 years ago, beloved. And he is hated. And he's not good. It's insane, is it not?
So no, like this is literally like what you said is like the complete devil's advocate to what I'm saying in terms of my bet. So like you could 100% be absolutely correct. All those things are just the situation. Deshaun Watson is ruined, burnt toast, like forever done. And that's that. Like the book is officially written. They'll bench him. They'll go down to one of the worst contracts in history. Jameis will play. Maybe he plays well, maybe he doesn't. But it's of course Watson was horrible, but I can't really make a case for him. I can make a case for the organization and the team for really still thinking this defense is going to be great. They're going to be able to pressure Trevor Lawrence a lot more than Miami's, defensive line, because it's not really a great one. And then, yes, the Jaguars front seven is good, but their secondary, I think I have them rated awfully, like bottoms 5 to 7 in the NFL, especially if Tyson Campbell doesn't suit up. So maybe I'm just still holding on to these priors. I'm saying Deshaun Watson, you have one last chance. If you fuck me, I'm never betting on you again. But I do still have this little bit of just like you can cover a 3.5 point game against the goddamn Jaguars. Like, I guess that's what it is at the end of the day. But we'll find out.
I think the only way for them to win is basically have a Chicago Bears moment from last week where the defense just does all the work.
And I don't think that's like, considering the talent on the Browns team, I don't think that's like asking for anything crazy to happen.
Yeah, we'll see. Next one's a trip down memory lane here. San Francisco 49ers laying just over a touchdown at the Minnesota Vikings. If you recall last year, San Francisco traveled to Minnesota on a Monday night, and they lost outright. Does the same thing happen again?
No, I mean, the Niners had a bunch of injuries they were dealing with in that one. And I think it was also like another tough scheduling spot for them. The Niners were off Monday night this time going to Minnesota. I love Kevin O'Connell. I was on the Vikings in week 1. Brian Flores is a great defensive coordinator, and he's going to know how to craft, a good game plan to try to slow down this Niners wagon. But I don't think that the 49ers, I have them as my third highest rated team. Like, that's a hell of a football team. Like, 6.5 laying on the road is obviously going to be tough, but teaser option, road favorite, I do think the Vikings will move the football, but like the 49ers are just really I think they're just really fucking good.
I think one other note here, Jordan Addison, it's not looking good for him. Mm-hmm. He's on the wrong side of questionable to play this week, which would put Justin Jefferson in a spot where he can have a lot of targets. No Hawkinson. That could be interesting. I think San Francisco should win this game. I mean, I would lay them for 6.5. I think this is a team that remembers what happened last year on Monday Night Football. They have the weapons advantage. McCaffrey, as great as he is, you could see Kyle Shanahan's offense is a simple plug and play. He's going to have Ayuk back. He's going to have Debo back. He's got Kittle. Purdy's back. The Niners defense looks pretty much healthy. I mean, chances are probably Hufanga is still going to be out, Dre Greenlaw, like some of those guys. But, their nucleus is there. I would lay this with San Francisco. This is definitely Circa Survivor worthy, consider it worthy. I'm not sure about that one yet, but I do like San Francisco here. No props just yet, but I probably would just look at betting every single Justin Jefferson over. I think Jefferson might have 20 targets in this game, considering the fact that there might not be anybody else to throw the ball to, except maybe Jalen Naylor. I think Jalen Naylor is supposed to be would operate as the number 2 in that situation, Eric.
Yeah, and Aaron Jones is also obviously like a weapon type running back. They could use him out of the passing game. And but no, I agree. And I think we just have the better team. 6.5 again, it's like tough for laying on the road there. Minnesota with one of the higher home field advantages in all football. But I agree with the Niners should win this football game, and I don't expect anything like that matchup last year in prime time.
And on DraftKings, you can find a 6 flat, which obviously is important to shop around.
Sure.
Justin Jefferson, just for anybody wondering, catch number 6.5, juice to the over at -130. And if you want to take some receiving yard action, they don't have an actual number up, but
they're slow.
But you can do Or actually, I'm sorry, they do have a number up. It's 79.5 at minus 120. I mean, I'd probably look to take Jefferson 100 yards plus at plus 185, maybe up to 120 at plus 360. I think Jefferson's could have a lot of yards. And honestly, if you want to get freaky, you could take over 127.5 at 5-1. I think that's something I would consider. I mean, if you're having a little bit of fun, if you think Jefferson might go nuts, then there we go.
Yeah, for sure.
Next one on the slate is the LA Chargers at the Carolina Panthers, just under a touchdown. This one has gone between 5.5 and 6.5. Now, Eric, am I crazy or do I think this could be the biggest trap spot of all time? Carolina just got the shit kicked out of them. No joke. Week 1. Chargers, the new regime under Jim Harbaugh, they get a win at home. Carolina, they're the worst team maybe since the 2008 Detroit Lions. They're not going to win a game. Is it an overreaction, or do we think that Carolina can maybe beat a Chargers team traveling across country, which not everybody does well?
No, I agree. This could be like Trap City. Obviously I'm not a fan of the term trap game, but I do think that it's a simple way to describe something a lot more complex than it is. But the Panthers are definitely live against the spread and money line in this one. The Chargers really didn't play all that well in their victory whatsoever. I think they only had 11 first downs in the whole game. Gardner Minshew with an inopportune fumble that, if he doesn't fumble, changes the complexion of the entire game, even though it happened early. A couple of negative EV decisions from Antonio Pierce, setting up the Chargers in better situations. So I was low on LIC coming in. I convinced myself that I didn't have any real action on it, so it's no big deal. But I convinced myself that I liked the Raiders because I was wait a second, they do have good players on defense. They do have, obviously some talent on offense, but the Chargers, on the other hand, they're just not a great team. They have a great quarterback, and a good offensive line, but they have nobody to throw the football to. 2 running backs who are, literally, I guess everybody is, but in their history is one step away from not being relevant anymore. And on defense, they're old and not amazing. So I think that the Panthers could have some success offensively, but the biggest concern is defensively. Justin Herbert's great. Again, he's got limited people to throw the ball to, but if the Panthers really don't get pressure, especially now without Derek Brown, and Herbert's going to have 3 seconds to throw, 2.5 to 3 seconds to throw, it's going to be they could cover this spread and keep this game close and maybe win, but I don't know. I mean,
because this is going to be a big survivor pick in any survivor pool. I'm thinking it just screams trap.
No, it does.
The Chargers are one of those teams that have found insane ways to lose over the years. And granted, Jim Harbaugh had a ton of success as a head coach in the NFL. And he's the kind of guy that typically that doesn't happen to. But like you said, this roster isn't anything special. I think it's a below 500 type of roster. It's below average.
Yeah.
I personally am going to be thinking very, very closely at avoiding this altogether. I do think it's worth looking into the touchdown market. You could get J.K. Dobbins at plus 155. You get Gus Edwards at plus 170. Ladd McConkey at 260. To be honest, I'd probably look at betting all of them individually, and I would think 2 of them have a really good chance of hitting. And if that happens, then you're going to walk away with a nice day. But on the side, man, I really don't know. Listen, I could be 100% off and say, you know what? It's stupid that you don't want to take a team against the Carolina Panthers. This is a layup. It doesn't get easier. I just feel like Dave Canales is too good of a football mind to allow this kind of play to continue.
It just I was obviously the reasoning to back the Panthers would be to expect them to be more unique on offense, more plus EV in decision making, etc. But there were times against the Saints defense, and that's not a Saints defense from a couple of years ago. This is a very average Saints defense where the Panthers looked like they had no chance in hell of even moving the football. Any like 10 yards would have been like worth a standing ovation for them if they were even to get that. So this Panthers team has potential of being like absolutely the same way they were as bad last year again this year. So, but again, like numbers wise, like you're asking this slow pace, like non-explosive team to cover over a touchdown. That's asking for a lot. I don't care who you're playing in the NFL. That's asking for a lot on the road with the travel as well, like you mentioned. So I understand why this went from not Chargers -4 to Chargers -6, and I understand why it's being bought back a little bit.
Yeah, I really like need a lot because this is a decision. I mean, when you win, and I'm thinking about this as a survivor contestant.
Mm-hmm.
These are the kind of things that you have to be alert on. A lot of time, like every now and then, you get a rocking chair. You get one that is just so comically easy, like that Raiders Chargers game last year on Thursday Night Football when they won by 70 points. You get some of those every now and then, but most of the time when it's too good to be true, it probably is.
100%.
And a lot of times, these are where the landmines come from. When you looked at it before the season started, heading into last week, how many people thought that Cincinnati would lose to New England?
Definitely not many. Many.
I mean, I did. I told you. I don't think that game. But in reality, it's like people are like, listen, like, could it happen? Yeah, but it's not gonna. They're not gonna lose. I mean, you know, roster-wise, is the Patriots roster that much better than the Carolina Panthers?
Absolutely not.
You never know.
I'm with you.
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, this year for me, I have 2 entries, so I could try to take a chance. And the big reason is obviously you're playing the Panthers, so you're trying to get the win in advance. But this is an opportunity to burn the Chargers and just be like, okay, you know, I'm not really going to have many opportunities to use them throughout the year, so let's get rid of them right now. It's definitely a lot to consider. So, you know, thank God I have until Saturday to make my decisions.
100%.
Eric, let's get to another interesting game here. The Seattle Seahawks, 3.5-point faves at New England. I don't know this. I don't know the exact number, and I don't know how many more are ahead of this, but this has to be one of the longest flights to take in the NFL.
100%. Yeah, it's definitely up there.
New England, are you buying? Are you selling them high? Or are you buying them low here?
I bet Seattle -3. I think that was a smash. Like that was not even like a debate from me, to be honest with you. I was not impressed with the Patriots. We knew that the Bengals start slow. We know that Zach Taylor is not a great coach. We know that Joe Burrow was dealing with a little bit of an injury, and we saw him visibly aggravated during the game with his hand. We know that Jamar Chase was holding out. We know that they were down to their third and fourth string wide receivers with Jamar Chase, who now comes in and did not play with his coach. Like, we know that their starting running back is Zach Moss, and like, yeah, he's effective at times, but like, this isn't a juggernaut. And then defensively, we know that this was one of the worst defenses in football last year that might have marginally got a little bit worse than they even were in terms of talent-wise, but they did make some moves. So to be determined, the Patriots do absolutely nothing. All their yards are gained after contact. You have some Jacoby Brissett bailouts on some, good coverage. And then you also have, and like, what did the Patriots do to make me believe that they're actually any better than this pile of dog shit team that I expect them to continue to be? Seahawks, on the other hand, let up 2 safeties, looked whateverly bad. Like Mike McDonald, I mentioned how he didn't look great in his first year with the Ravens, like their first week, I should say. Like, they got lit up a little bit, like tough to adjust to. Like, you have like a much better football team. I don't care that it's on the road in the flight. Like, I think that you do consider that, but I don't think that's going to like hinder and make Seattle at 3 not playable. Like, I love the Seahawks this week. I bet it was the first thing I bet. I think I bet it yesterday. I'll check my bet slips.
What's the number right now?
It's 3.5 now, but I got it
What?
3.
What?
I got it 3.
No. What's the number's what right now?
The number is Seattle minus 3.5, kind of across the board.
That's it for me, right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with everything you said. I feel like Seattle is going to get better as the season goes on. Two safeties. Because Seattle was one of my Circus Survivor picks last week in the 4:00 window, and I'm in my living room pacing back and forth. When I see the second safety happen, I'm like, how many times has a team how many times has a team gotten a safety in 2 games? Like, they were starting inside their own 10 every friggin' drive. So I think that's very fluky. But Seattle made it count. Kenny Walker looked good.
He's going to look good again this week.
Tyler Lockett made some clutch catches. He made the game-sealing catch. Big ups on Tyler Lockett for putting that away. I like Seattle here. It's the 3.5 rule. It's not an exact science, but matchup-wise, it lines up. I think Seattle should put up 24, 27 points this week. I feel like New England, the only reason that they stayed in that game against Cincinnati was you have Mike Gesicki get the touchdown overturned. You have the touchdown going into the end zone. Kyle Duggar knocks it out. I think you had a muff punt. You had to have such a collection of mistakes to ruin that game. And as long as Seattle plays clean, I think they're going to be able to run away with this game. I feel like the 3.5 is good. It's good that New England won last week because now it has people guessing, well, you know what? They went into Cincinnati in week 1. Maybe they're not that bad. They're not that bad. We're gonna dumb down the line for week 2, as opposed to this look ahead, which I don't know. Maybe you have it. Maybe let's say this look ahead was 6.5. Right? We're gonna make it 3.5. I think this is a Seattle spot.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think Ken Walker's going to go up again. I know the Patriots are known for their run defense like last year, but you got to remember it's a new coach, different philosophy. And Christian Barmore isn't healthy, and I think that Ken Walker, the one thing I will give the Patriots 100% credit for is they have a nice young secondary. They have some experience there as well, but Christian Gonzalez, the guy who I picked to be rookie of the year last year but got hurt, is back, and he looks as advertised. They have some guys, but like you said, so many fortuitous things went their way to win as 9-point, road dogs and Jared Mayo's debut. But was there anything that they showed me to make me believe that they're I should think about what I thought about them and change my opinion? Not in the slightest.
Kenny Walker plus 145 to score a touchdown. Definitely
plus 145. Currently, I'm taking that.
Currently plus 145. I think I'm gonna put that on an official play. That's a free play giving out right now. Kenny Walker anytime tutty plus 145. Book it. JohnnyV and Eric Pauly will be making the Kenny Walker plus 145. I do like it a lot.
Me too.
And we got a comment here. My guy Sunday Puncher, JV, you got your Speedo ready for Fire 2. It's on its way. I ordered it on Amazon. It's going to be a Star Spangled Banner theme, and I'm looking forward to Fire 2, baby. Got to get my boy Billy McFarland, back in the fold here. We had a podcast a few months ago talking about some college baseball, and he goes, I don't believe all 3 West Coast favorites will cover 1 p.m. East Coast games. I think again, it goes back to it just sounds too good to be true. There's some real potential for disaster, especially when you have this West to East Coast.
There is.
So let's keep going here. We have a few more games to get to.
Let's do it.
We have the Raiders and the Ravens minus 8.5. I'm going Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to blow them the frig out. This is a strong play, strong teaser leg. I think Derrick Henry gets in the end zone. Ravens all the way.
I disagree. I see a path for the Raiders to cover this spread. I know I was just talking a lot of shit about them. I am in on the Ravens. I think they're good, but the Ravens offensive line stinks. It's really not good. The Chiefs were pressuring Lamar, and obviously Lamar's Lamar, so he can, evade these kind of things and makes things easier for his offensive line at times. But now you're going against like Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby. Like they went against this Chargers OL that really is like great. But like these guys are two guys who are absolute units, like top tier, like game record type players. And now they're going against like you're gonna have Crosby going against the right tackle, then Wilkins up the middle, where this Ravens team is really susceptible. Like I think they can get pressure, and I think that'll be enough to keep this one close. I don't think the Ravens defense is like amazing, and I think that like we said with the Raiders earlier, like they do have some good skill players, and like they were a Gardner Minshew fumble and a couple negative EV decisions away from winning a game, and like they played pretty well defensively against the Herbert. Like I don't know, it seems like a lot of points to me. This was 9.5 earlier. This buyback to 9 and 8.5 is relatively recent, but I'm not running to play this, but like I think the Ravens like could be a teaser leg, like, but I would actually personally want nothing to do with this one.
Fair point. This is an interesting line here. We got the Colts as a field goal favorite currently at Green Bay with projected Malik Willis going. I probably would lay it with Indy, but I got to be honest here with the Colts. It looks really tasty, but we have to remember Indianapolis is a fun team. They're not necessarily a good football team. I would only lay it just because of the Malik Willis news, but they're prone to a lot of mistakes. Their defense isn't anything special. Anthony Richardson, as good as he is, he's not very efficient. Green Bay has a good defense around a lot of rest. They have a game. They have a running game that can control the clock and keep Malik Willis, hide him a little bit. I would take the Colts, but I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people would think.
And I see that. Yeah, I think this game it's pretty simple. If you are really anti Malik Willis and you don't think that like LaFleur is going to be able to like scheme him enough easy throws, you think he's going to shit the bed, you take the Colts. If you think that all that's already priced in, which obviously to a degree it is, but you think that you're bullish on LaFleur's ability to like make life easy for Willis, and you do agree that like what you said, Johnny, like the Colts, like yeah, they have like good players, but this is an average team realistically. Packers, of course, above average with Love. How far above average is a different question. I would say slightly, but no, nothing I'm interested in. Like I don't feel so strongly about fading Malik Willis, and it's probably within the number anyway, baked into the number anyway, because we've seen him play. It's not like he's no tape, etc. That's more unique. I'm just laying off.
Jets minus 3.5 at the Titans. The Jets obviously they got smoked on Monday Night Football. And granted, it was San Francisco. San Francisco is one of the few teams that can really do that to anybody they play. I feel like the Titans, we talked about this, throughout the summer, they're a high variance team. I expect the Jets to get back here. They just got embarrassed, and obviously Tennessee did as well, blowing a 17-point lead. I don't think they give up an offensive touchdown. But ultimately, the Jets have a better roster. I expect a much better effort from their defense. I expect a much better effort from their offense. So give me the New York Jets here. I think they win outright, and I would lay the 3.5.
Yeah, I lean Jets here too. You know how I was fading the hell out of the Jets for Monday night this past week. I have my like strong thoughts on the Jets, but this is as typical. Like they should win this football game. Their defense should be able to like lock down the cornerbacks. Like Will Levis obviously is a work in progress, and they'll get pressure on him. Like the Bears defensive front, like they did a good job because obviously Brian Callahan and his dad Bill Callahan, one of the better offensive line coaches in the NFL now, is helping that unit play better. But I mean, listen, like at the same time, like this Jets defense, which is the most overrated thing in the history of overrated things, like got absolutely slashed. Like yes, it's Kyle Shanahan, yes, it's Jordan. Like so they made some moves there, but like if Bill Callahan's can put together like a good game plan, like we saw some glimpses of Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears breaking some runs against last year a great run defense in Chicago. So I would definitely lean Jets, but I think it's an interesting one. But the Jets in theory should blow them out, but the Jets stink, so it doesn't theory you could throw theory out the window. We got to see what happens on the football field.
Going to the next New Jersey team. The Giants are a small dog at Washington. I got to be honest. I liked what I saw more from Washington last week, even though they got blown out. I think there's a lot more potential on this Commanders team. Obviously, the defense is still a disaster, but the offense can score. And this New York Giants team, their strength is their defense, which really isn't that good. I'm not playing anything in this game other than maybe a touchdown prop, but I would side with the Commanders. You can get Jaden Daniels anytime tutty at plus 130, which is great because I gave him out at plus 250 last week. I don't know if this is going to be an every week thing with Jaden Daniels or if this is just a specific matchup. But, when you're able to get him in that kind of territory for a touchdown, I think he's going to be scoring a lot of rushing touchdowns this year.
He 100% is. I had him 2 touchdowns in the lottery ticket last week, and I had him touchdown in a couple of parlays last week. And also, and like I said, if he's plus 200, he'll never beat it again. Now he's plus 130. I think that's still generous in our favor. I think he's a guy who'll be sitting around, minus 115 to plus 105 range when it's all said and done. But I like the Giants in a teaser here. I did like the total at open at 41, but I was late to the party, and you got to be like very quick to some of these draws. Now it's at 44.5. That's obviously a key number, but I agree that the Commanders will be able to score. These are 2 of the worst secondaries in all of football, so like Daniel Jones will actually look solid in this game, and hopefully give some Giants fans some hype that they'll be good again, but don't break their heart again because he does stink. But Giants in a teaser would 100% mix that in with the Lions and the Bills. Those are definitely 3 very, very, very appealing teaser legs that I would look into this weekend.
Okay, Pittsburgh, Denver. Oh my God! So talk about the quarterback that broke that ruined my 7-figure fortune at the team he used to play for with the coach that he used to play under. I don't like anything about this game. I have absolutely no involvement. I am not taking anything whatsoever, whether that's a prop side, total money line, nothing. I don't know if you like anything here.
Nah, yeah, it's literally past. Like we saw Pittsburgh defense look good, albeit against the crappy offense and rusty, oft injured guy. And then you have the Broncos, who Bo Nix looked horrible, and Sean Payton by like the second half was afraid to let him let it rip anymore because he was so scared. So I want anything to do with these 2 teams.
Next game is interesting. It's the Rams at the Cardinals. Cardinals are a favorite. I got to be honest, dude. I like the Rams in this spot, and I'm going to tell you why. Sean McVay, 13-2 all time against the Rams or against the Cardinals since he took over as the Rams head coach in 2017. He's been beating the shit out of Arizona way before Puka Nacua showed up. I know there's injuries on the offensive line. I know the defense, probably exceeded expectations on Sunday night. I think the Rams are gonna deal with it. You have Stafford and you have Kupp and you have Kyren Williams, and that's all you need. I don't think Arizona's defense is going to be good enough to slow down the Rams. I think their offense can score a little bit, but I think this is a Rams spot all the way. Money line. I think I could even be looking at a team total over here. I'm big on the Rams this week on a bounce back.
Yeah, Rams plus 1.5 in a teaser is obviously a 4th one I look at this week. I agree with you that when you have McVay, Kupp, Stafford, that trio is capable of putting together an offensive game plan that can mask any O-line injuries and move the football, especially against a Cardinals defense that's arguably the worst in football. So no disagreements from me. Rams run anything, and I think we'll see scoring on both sides. Don't get me wrong. But the Rams
without Jonah Williams, by the way. Arizona's missing Jonah Williams for this week and maybe next week. Cincinnati Bengals, Kansas City Chiefs. Eric, do you know what this is? I'm not going to tell you. What is it?
Royal Mint.
A Royal Mint spot. The Royal Mint, anytime a road dog closes at exactly 5 or 5.5 points is a Royal Mint spot. You saw it with the Rams last week. Honestly, a game they should have not only covered but won outright, and came down to overtime where they didn't even get the ball. It doesn't always hit, but it usually hits, and a lot of time, or half the time, maybe a little less, they can win outright. Cincinnati's going to be without T. Higgins. I am a bit concerned about this Jamar Chase contract situation that's looming over their heads. I'm going to take a shot on Cincinnati here at plus 5.5. I think I might make that an official play. I almost always go with the Royal Mint. And this is the one team that's had success against them, the Cincinnati Bengals.
So here's my take on this one. I obviously you can't ignore like the success that Burrow's had, head to head, but you can't obviously argue the success Mahomes has had in his career. The way that I see this football game, and I was writing about this, so I guess I'll read a little bit about what I was writing. Like, we know exactly what to expect from the Kansas City Chiefs. Best quarterback in football, best head coach quarterback duo in football, great defensive coordinator. Now we're seeing some solid weaponry around him. We know they're going to be good on offense. We know they're going to be good on defense. We know that this is a Super Bowl contender. We don't know shit about the Cincinnati Bengals. We know that they're a slow starting team. We've seen it for the last couple of years. We saw it again on Sunday. We know that Joe Burrow is hurt and his hand is not 100% right. We know that this offense stunk it up against a bad defense in New England. And I don't understand how, all those things considered, you're supposed to turn around and do a complete 180 and then beat the best team in football. Taking 5.5 points and just expecting like, okay, Burrow's gonna do his Burrow magic against Mahomes. Like, could that be a thing? Sure, I've seen crazier shit be things in sports that actually makes some kind of sense. On the other hand, you have a rested Kansas City team with extra time to prepare at home with a confirmed top 3 roster in football, in my opinion, power rated number 1. Like, the Bengals have their issues. Like, the Chiefs should definitely win this football game.
They should, but will they? All right,
One way to find out, brother. One way to find out.
I know you got a hard out here.
No, I don't have a hard out. We could take it slow.
What?
I don't have a hard out. We could take it slow.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, I don't need. Okay, sorry. All right. So we got the Chicago Bears at the Houston Texans, a 6.5-point favorite. Houston, Chicago, Stroud, Caleb. Eric, honestly, I like Houston here, and I'm going to tell you why.
Tell me.
Rome Daddy, Keen Daddy banged up. We don't really know the official status of them coming into the weekend. I didn't love what I saw from Caleb Williams. I do think he's going to improve throughout the season. The defense obviously is very good. I just think there's going to be too many weapons for Chicago to have to contend with. I think this is going to be a Houston Texans smash spot. I could see Chicago keeping it close, but I think if you had to make me pick a side, it's going to go Houston.
Yeah, give me all of Houston. Lay the 6. Teaser. Give me all things Houston. They looked as advertised in the first game against the Colts. Like, those are 2 teams that know each other, that were going to be a good game regardless. That was always going to be that kind of game. It was fun. CJ Stroud is awesome. Chicago Bears, like you said, like, they're dealing with injuries to their weapons. Their offensive line clearly isn't good. Like, they let Will Levis really, get to them a little bit until, like, you have to take everything for context. Like, Will Levis tried to throw the ball away, flipped it, did not get it far enough, went for a pick 6 and changed the complexion of the game. Like, this offense did nothing. Chicago's, and this Houston defense is not, groundbreakingly great, but it's good. It's a good defense. It's league average realistically at worst. And this Bears defense, you could probably make the same case, but offensively they're not. And now you're going against CJ Stroud, which I think that people know that CJ Stroud is him. And there's another group of people that saw it, but they don't want to fully buy into it because, it's only been 17, 18, 19 games. Like, how can you really buy into it? And I think that on Sunday night at home, he shows everybody that he is an absolute stud. And I think that the Texans alternate lines are at play on Sunday night.
Yeah, I probably will officially play Houston. Interesting in the touchdown prop market here, though. DJ Moore, 2-1 to score. The Bears did allow 17 touchdowns to wide receivers. And if Chicago's playing from behind, which, our handicap would correlate.
Yeah.
I think DJ Moore 2-1 is too big. You have an opportunity here if you're DJ Moore to get in the end zone. If you're going to be playing from behind a lot, the Houston Texans secondary, they didn't allow a lot of receiving touchdowns last year, but I mean, it's not always based off of that. If that makes sense. You're not always saying, oh, well, he's not going to score because they don't allow a lot of touchdowns. I think if there's a guy that is going to score, he's got a very good opportunity to, if they're playing catch up from behind. Game's out of reach in the fourth quarter, might sneak a garbage touchdown. They're going to have to score somehow, some way. And if the other guys are limited, he's going to be getting a lot of targets. But Tank Dell, plus 210. That is definitely a guy I would look at to score. One of those from midfield play action. Tank Dell hits a deep post. Stroud puts it in the breadbasket, touchdown. So you're getting two nice little long shots there as well.
I love that. And yeah, I think this could be a Texans because again, I know there are people who are firmly in the camp that Texans Super Bowl contenders, and there are people who firmly are like, no. I'm honestly firmly in the yes, and I think that this will be a conversion game for the people in the maybe column rather than me being wrong game.
It's not going to be a conversion game for me. It's not going to be a conversion game for me. I'm not converting.
If they win by if the Texans win by 21,
if they win by 100, I still wouldn't be like, okay, because after what I saw from Chicago last week, it's clear they have a lot of work to do. I mean, yes,
of course. I just think that 100%. I'm not saying that just winning this game is worthwhile, but I'm saying if they look like the well-oiled machine on both sides of the ball, yes, you could take the asterisk against a league average or below opponent. So take that with a grain of salt, but I think the Texans can get to them.
I believe they could have a chance. Atlanta Falcons Monday Night Football at the Philadelphia Eagles. That is supposed to read -6.5, so I apologize for that. Total of 47.5. Gimme. That's a gimme. Philly is going to wipe the floor with the Atlanta Falcons. They are going to wipe the floor. It's not going to be a contest. I would look at alternate spreads here right off the bat. I mean, if I'm being 100% objective, and listen, you already know that I said I didn't believe Atlanta to win the division, especially at -145. Tampa was the team I went with. Eric, Tampa was the team I went with. Atlanta has a lot of holes in that roster. Anybody that watched Kirk Cousins, yes, albeit against a good defense last week against Pittsburgh, a lot of his throws he wasn't stepping into. He was off balance. His Achilles looked like it was still bothering him as he's recovering. He's not putting the zip on the ball because he's not following through off his plant leg. The defense has a lot of issues. The offense, they have a couple weapons, yeah, but Philadelphia, especially on extra rest, is just too good of a team, and they're at home. I don't see any way where Atlanta is able to go into Philly and win this game on Monday night.
You don't have to convince me, bro. I like the Eagles. Another great teaser leg with the 6.5. I know he went a little chalky, but
I would probably, no joke, dude, I would probably take Atlanta -16.5, Philly -16.5 at +285. I think they're going to blow the Falcons out. The only possible way that Atlanta could even be in the conversation to win or even cover the game is if Kirk Cousins somehow is good to go. And I mean fully healthy Kirk Cousins, which long shot, and they run the ball into oblivion. If they run the ball 40 times and can move the chains efficiently, and they control 35 to 40 minutes of game clock, that's the only way. That's what the Washington Commanders did a couple years ago when they went into Philly and beat them. That's the only possible way they can do it. I think this is Philly all the way.
I agree. I don't think Atlanta is built to sustain those drives. I think Philly's a team you beat in the air, and Kirk Cousins like just looked uncomfortable. The Phillies defensive line is good. Like they're going to get pressure, and you have a quarterback who still can't fully move. Obviously turnovers are random and luck induced, but obviously Jalen Hurts seems to be a little turnover prone worthy, I should say. And that could always derail a win or a cover. Terrible interceptions, fumbles, etc. But all things equal, the Philadelphia Eagles I have as my number 2 power rated team. The Atlanta Falcons I have as my number 24th power rated team. So at 6.5 points at home, I like the Philadelphia Eagles teaser money line parlay, laying it. I know I went chalk with Sunday night and Monday night, but I think here's something, Johnny. There's no real backing to it, but I'm curious your thoughts, just as a gambler, fan, somebody in the industry like I am. Like week 1, especially this past week, there was so much chalk that came through and hit touchdowns. And, obviously the books don't know what to do with pricing just yet. We don't, you have a better chance in week 1. Week 2 is obviously overreaction, underreaction. But Johnny, like not every week is going to be like week 1 where the Ken Walkers, Tyreek Hills, X's of the world are scoring touchdowns. So like
it was great. I did well. I hit a plus 45-14 or 45-15 5-leg touchdown parlay. I think I hit something else as well. Like it was a great week. I'm like, oh, this is the way it's going to start. I can live with it.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just saying though, like, the primetime games are awesome. Football was amazing. Like the NFL always like there's gonna be a stinker. So this is the week. I'm calling it. This is the week where the 2 chalks, like Monday Night Football and Sunday Night Football, everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, there's a blowout. Like fuck the NFL. Even though the last week they're saying I love the NFL, it's amazing, because I think we're gonna see blowouts from the Texans and Eagles in the primetime games this weekend.
I do too. I think we could parlay some alt lines in the Sunday and Monday night game.
Potentially, for sure. If you're safe, you just tease them both. If you want some fun, take some money lines.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Like, honestly, we can't talk people out of this because that's what they do. And, I do it for fun. The touchdown parlays, bro, I think it's making like a few of them. Right, and you're including different players. It's dangerous to include the same player across multiple parlays, because obviously if one player ruins the whole thing, it's just your shot. So I think there's definitely opportunities where a lot of these chalk players, like we're going to get to them in a minute, but there's opportunities where you're going to be able to have a few different parlays with maybe 4 different guys in each. You know what I'm saying, and you're able to find different people to get in the end zone. And I think that's probably what I would consider an important part of cooking up a touchdown parlay.
I love that. I had some success with it myself this weekend. It was just a ton of fun. And it really is.
You got a big shit eating grin on your face.
Yeah, because I actually have it. I wasn't even purposely. I had some screenshots up of some bangers from this weekend. But yeah, I know it's not going to be like that every week, obviously. And we could talk about this, I think, more at like a later episode, because I'm still like curating my thoughts about it. Like I don't have a strong stance yet, but I think obviously we see some of these touchdown lines we're saying egregious. It's only going to get worse, but I think it's going to get to a point where like eventually, like, yeah, like Josh Allen, bro, like he should be minus 120. Like that motherfucker's probably scoring.
Yeah. I get it. I mean, let's go down some anytime tutty looks. We talked about it. Is there anybody that we didn't maybe mention? I mean, I got to be honest. The guy that I forgot to talk about in that Green Bay game is Anthony Richardson, and he's plus 140.
Yeah, give me that.
I mean, here's the other part of this. Of course, when you pick a player to score a touchdown, he's not going to score a touchdown every game. It just, unless you're Chris McCaffrey, but it doesn't happen like that. But when you get a ridiculously wrong number on a player like that, even in a tough matchup, it's worth taking a shot at. Anthony Richardson is a guy at plus 140. against a defense that really can be got in Green Bay that you need to take advantage of somehow, some way, whether it's straight, whether it's in a parlay. Coming into this year, who, by the way, Josh Allen was my preseason rushing touchdown leader, 19-1. Eric, you know that.
Yeah.
Allen and Richardson and even Jaden Daniels, and like that touchdown QB parlay was going to feed families, I think, this year. Like I think that's going to be a monster smash all year long. And really,
throw Jaden Daniels in that mix, and you have the recipe. Jaden Daniels in that mix, those three, it's over.
That's what I said.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Richardson, Allen, Jaden Daniels.
Yes, done.
Hurts I'm leaving out because of
Saquon is taking all those touchdowns.
Yeah. So I think there's definitely going to be chances that you're going to be able to take advantage. But dude, Anthony Richardson at plus 140 is way, way too big. Anybody else we did talk about?
I'm just going through the games. I mean, so tomorrow I'm going on Spaces at 3 on Twitter. So I'll be talking more. I'll have obviously more time to have solidified some more opinions and have some more plays. But I'll go through again. Like Bills Dolphins, I think it's a high scoring. Niners Vikings, I like high scoring. Seahawks, I like Kenneth Walker to really have another day. Commanders Giants, I like Terry for a bounce back. I like Jaden touchdown, but I do like the Giants in a higher scoring game. I still think Kamara is going to get a ton of love, so I would keep my eyes looking at Alvin Kamara. Richardson, you said, was great. I would look at Browns wide receivers because you're probably going to get Amari Cooper at like a better price than you would expect against the weaker secondary. So I would look at Amari Cooper. Bucks Lions, any line is viable. They're going to score a lot of points there. And Rams Cardinals, I would maybe look at Marv to finally break out. I know he had some issues with separation, but they did miss that touchdown. But the consensus was he didn't play a great football game in his debut. How much does that mean that he's going to be bad? Nobody knows. But I think the Rams secondary is bad, so I would look at Marvin Harrison Jr. to potentially score his first touchdown this week. But I'll have more on this and more other plays on Spaces tomorrow. 3 o'clock.
I think the Rams, Trey McBride at plus 210 is interesting. Rams defense gave up the second most touchdowns to tight ends last year with 8.
Yeah. Trey
McBride, red zone. I mean, obviously, we know James Conner is going to get a lot of those carries, but McBride's worth a little sprinkle. It's great, and just some of the 3 touchdown bets that I've locked in for this week. Tyreek minus 120, Jaden Daniels plus 130, Kenny Walker plus 145. I think those 3, and honestly, we could probably I'm going to throw Anthony Richardson in there at plus 140. I might end up parlaying all these, to be honest. I think these guys are going to have a really good opportunity to all get in the end zone this week. So why not? Why not take a chance on these?
I'm with you on Jaden, Kenny, and Richardson. Obviously, I see the Tyreek, but like I said earlier, I'm not going to go all the way back to Thursday night. But yeah, I think that Buffalo has had success and can continue to have sex even with worse players.
Continue to have what?
Success. Success.
Okay. Yeah. No,
he's good.
I think it's.
But no, it should be a fun week. I think offense will be a little bit better overall, but it is worth noting that QB play and offense in general was bad across the NFL last week.
Definitely, it was just everything was definitely a lot worse than what we've seen in the past, and I think teams are just catching up from preseason and treating last week like it was a preseason game almost. Mm-hmm. Cover my teaser real quick. Official teaser of week 2. Week 1 did come home with the Ravens plus 9, Cardinals plus 12.5. This one we have Philly minus 0.5, which is almost basically a pick 'em, and the Rams plus 7.5. I honestly think a parlay of these 2 teams is also on the money line, something I would look at. But the teaser, you're getting the point advantage, especially in the Rams game. It's at minus 120 on DraftKings, which honestly you shouldn't be paying anything more than minus 120 for a 2-team teaser. FanDuel will whack you for 134, 14-cent difference or $14 difference. That's a lot. Eric, I think this is a great look on my part, if I do say so myself.
I agree. I think they're Obviously, I feel like recently, like some of the Wong teacher legs have been hitting at like the same rates they were, and there's a lot of factors as to why that is a thing. But like you said, minus 120 is the max. Those are two teams I'm eyeing, and the guys that are the teams in the prime Wong spots, like we've gone through and talked about, all of them I think are tasty for week 2. Like we've spoken about, like the over and under reactions for this week. Like again, you're not going to overreact, or I should say, the market's not going to overreact to some news in week 15 as much as they would in week 2, because obviously there's 15 weeks of data. Like this is the time still where if you are really clinging to a prior, or if you are really low or high on a team and they underperformed in your opinion in the first week, and now the line is like not in line with your power ratings, you're seeing a much bigger edge than you're expecting on, you know, an NFL money line or total, because obviously those edges are hard to come by. Fire and trust your gut, get the best number, and see if you know what you think you know.
Anything else we didn't cover that you like? Any leans that you may have missed?
No, we went in deep to the board. It was fun. Going to do this again, like I said, on Spaces tomorrow. So everybody here, hop in tomorrow, and I'll have a little bit more mature thoughts, I guess. And on Twitter, I'll have everything that I'll play a couple stuff, parlay science for the rest of my plays. And I know you have something going on with Dub Club now, Johnny. So talk a little bit about that.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. So Eric is absolutely right. Subscribe to my Dub Club using promo code first month free to get 1 free month when signing up for an annual subscription. Here's the deal, guys. I decided to cross over to the dark side with Dub Club. They have a lot of good stuff going. There are a lot of my friends that are cappers that I've been doing a lot of work with, have spoken very highly of this process. And, you know, I wanted to give it a shot. I wanted to see how my work would do in a space like Dub Club, and, you know, make a little extra Scott off for it. I put a lot of work for this. So, you know, let's call it what it is. I'm not going to pretend. You know, it'd be nice to make some money on the side here. So JohnnyVTV on Dub Club. Promo code first month free to get 1 month free when you sign up for an annual subscription. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube link, the podcast, where JohnnyVTV and Breaking Bet and Eric Pauly putting out all the videos, all the analysis, all the content. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter. I'm at _JohnnyVTV. He's at Slime Action. And we really appreciate everybody for tuning in here on this Wednesday evening. We hope you have a fantastic weekend. And don't forget, on Sunday morning, I will be talking week 2, Circa Million, Circa Survivor. After everything is locked up, I'll be giving out my picks. Hopefully we move on. A strong week 2. We move forward with the both Survivor picks and a nice 5-0 million spot. Eric, I really appreciate all your time today and your awesome analysis.
You're the best, Johnny. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. And again, we'll see me tomorrow on X. And make sure you subscribe to JohnnyVTV. And congrats to you, Johnny, on the Dub Club. I love it.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much. We'll talk to everybody soon. Best of luck this week. Keep an eye out on our Twitters for any updated plays.
Yes, sir.
Take care, guys. Thank you very much.